Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for the intro, Winston. I'm not going to spend too much time talking because I want Stuart and Patrick, not Patrick Stewart, to share their experiences with you. But as Winston said, I've been working in and around schools and the communication side of education for about 13 years. Way back when PS Connect started. Some of you that have been in education for a long time, most of you look like you've been around maybe just about long enough. We'll remember Keep Kids Safe and Truancy Call when those brands were around, and Parent Mail. And now we're in this really fortunate position where we've got Parent Mail, PS Connect, Truancy Call, and BioStore, individual business units that have combined years, probably 30 or 40, 50, nearly 50 years worth of experience in delivering the UK's best communication and engagement platforms to schools. So without further ado, I want to introduce Stuart. Winston has already said, from Culcheth High School. One thing about Culcheth High School, as Winston said, they've been working with PS Connect and the MyEd app for 11 years now, and they really have. They've completely transformed the way they've engaged with parents, and it's been a journey, definitely, over the last few years. But and you'll hear from Stuart how they've achieved it. But it is really, truly a transformation in the way they've engaged, and I'm sure that many of you in the room will have gone through similar journeys. So at the end, we'll hear from Stuart, we'll hear from Patrick, and then at the end, if we've got a few minutes, we'll open up. We'll have some questions. So, welcome, Stuart. Thank you. Yeah.
That's great. Hello, everyone. I'm Stuart from Culcheth High School. So we're secondary school in Warrington, Cheshire. So we've got about 1,200 students with about 135 staff. So we are a 2010 build, BSF build. But we actually started this process in 2009 with Keep Kids Safe. So we were looking for parental engagement tools, as most people were, try and get our whole community together, basically. So we actually purchased Keep Kids Safe, and it was working for us, and it was ticking along, really, and it was going well. But then we looked at products from RS Connected at the time, 2015, which was an app-based product. And we were always looking for that kind of thing, for apps, etc. So what we did is we started to look into this and started to develop it. We had a few things on the app to start with, and then we sort of grew it as we went along. So currently, that's pretty much, it's all sort of visual, this one. That's kind of how our app looks at the moment for our parents. So in 2016, we did some extensive research into this. We didn't just sort of throw things out there and just wanted it to happen organically. We knew it wouldn't do that, so we wanted to make sure we were kind of app ready, really. So we sort of planned for September 2016 to be able to launch this with our parents and our community. So we had a clear plan of what we wanted to do and how we were going to launch it. What we did was we actually asked our parents, first of all, for feedback on what they wanted to see in an app, what they wanted to use, what the common things were within school. And then we sort of tailored the app towards what we wanted to achieve from that. So we actually still have the feedback tab that you can see in there is actually still live as well. So that's been live since 2016. We keep that going, so we ask parents for feedback. We're a Google reference school as well, which is really helpful towards us when we're developing things like the app as well. So we can put a Google form together to get this feedback, and then what parents say about the app, etc. We can still monitor and do everything like that. So we were in a good position to launch in September 2016. We were confident it was going to work. When we did launch, it just took off. We got 625 parents immediately signed up. So based on our sort of catchment and our numbers, 1,200, we're looking at over 2,000 parents we've got. So 625 was a really good number to start with. But that wasn't good enough for us. We wanted to sort of grow that a little bit. So just before I go on to that, I just thought I'd show you some of the key features. Probably most people will know this. Just key dates that's on there. This saves an awful lot of phone calls from the office, and particularly the office manager who's with me today as well. Just putting things like this in, so people don't have to check our website. We can put this in once a year, pretty much done. add the information as we go along. Saves a lot of phone calls. Parents are quite happy as long as they've got the app. They can see this. So just moving along to contacts. Pretty much same sort of thing again, really. We've got the main contacts in the school in there as well, the main phone numbers people are going to need to be able to contact their different teachers. And we do get much less calls now asking, who is this person who's in charge of Year 7? So they're all on there through the app. Messages has basically revolutionised how we do things. Instead of having to sit there on the phone all morning, we've only have so many lines incoming to the school, as every school does. So the app, again, parents can say, my child's not well today, etc. You can also receive messages from the school as well. This has proved hugely popular as well. We know it's popular when we don't hear from parents and they just sort of accept it, and it kind of works. So moving on to some of the other bits we've done. What we've done, we do our own in-house web development. So we're very proud of our website. It has over 600 pages, etc. But what we saw an angle to actually link the app and our website together. So, for example, using exam info, which changes once a year, maybe a little bit more, for all our information on exams, what we do is we actually get people to go to the exam section on our website. The beauty of this is, no one actually knows. They all think it's app-based and it's all through the app and it's all magic. It's not, it's just linked in the background to our website. So the more we put into our website, the better our app looks as well. So we've recently changed our homework model as well. So all our homework, as I said, with Google Reference School, so all our homework goes through Google Classroom. So to inform parents of this and to understand the rationale and the model behind what we wanted to do with homework, again, we created a bespoke web page for this, so parents can then see. So we get very little questions from parents regarding homework without reading the rationale through the app, etc. first. So one of the things we've done recently as well is we have introduced a commerce site to our website. So we actually do our own in-house school shop now as well. This has took off hugely. We didn't quite anticipate how huge this has took off, and it's mainly due to the app and the way we've sort of devised it. So within the school shop, you can see there that you can buy bits of uniform, etc. And everyone, again, thinks it's through the app. It's not, it's through the website. Well, it's actually through a little sub-website that we use. And we use some commerce tools to be able for people to purchase these. We've had our best year yet in 2019-20. And we've got over £37,000 worth of transactions for uniform. So we do know this is working really, really well for us as well. So we also have on our website some extracurricular as well. So if we do something that we think is going to benefit the community or our parents, such as we have a Culture to Soweto blog. So this is where students from Soweto in South Africa come over to us. Students raise money. It's actually a charity now as well. So they raise money for the students to be able to come over to us, and we go to them as well, and it's all raised with charity. So we create a blog for this. Again, this is through the app. People can read about the blog, they can interact as well and see exactly what's going on. So that's great. That's the easy bit. That's the really simple bit done. The hard bit comes later on. 2016, you get to 2017, you start to plateau on your numbers. People aren't sort of engaging with it and things like this. We found as well, we started getting some inactivity through the app. So there was people who installed it because we've asked them to, and they thought, yeah, it's all right, leave it to one side. Especially when we came back off something like a summer holiday. We have to fight against things like Facebook, a full phone, full of pictures. The first thing to go, just delete the app, just because I don't really use it that much. So how do we do that? How do we retain the customers, basically our parents and our community? How do we get people to actually use it more often? Well, we devised something called This Week. Something happens in school every week. There's hundreds of things that happen. How well that's communicated outside of the school walls can be difficult sometimes. So what we've done is we've created something called #ThisWeek. So this basically is, again, a web page, nothing revolutionary, and we put all the events that go on during the school in that week. So Kerry Dale, who's the office manager, is like a Rottweiler with our staff, getting them saying, right, what's going on during the week? So we get all the information from our key staff across the school who say there's a PE event on, etc. There's reminders on for this, that, the other. This has proved huge. This has retained our app users, so our parents, and we continue to grow like this. So how do we know this is working though as well? So what we do, we take in IT and in the school, we take a very analytical approach to what we do with our app. So we've actually done quite a lot of analysis on this, and we do keep an eye on our statistics and our figures. So just to give you an example on there, we're currently at 80.5% of our parents, which we never thought that would be a figure we'd ever be able to get to. So what we do is we monitor who's got it, who doesn't have it, and then we look at the inactivity. Now, the inactivity is the important bit. So what we try and do is we try and promote to our parents and say, look, get on the app because you'll know this information, because you'll realise this information, etc. As you can see, our numbers are pretty good and they're pretty stable through all the year groups. This was done this was for the month of January that we looked at these stats, so these are pretty much bang up to date. So some of the no's are often incompatible devices, and there's still some stubborn parents out there who might not be able to actually get the app on there or don't want to. So we go a little bit stage further than that as well. What we wanted to do is we put a lot of work, especially Kerry, she puts an awful lot of work into the This Week section to get all this information together, to sort of squeeze our staff to make sure that they tell us what's going on in the school. But how do we know that's working? What we've actually done, we use full analytics for this. So at the top there, where the forward slash is, that's our homepage to the website. Our second most popular page is the This Week page, which is incredible. So 13% of our traffic is actually just for the app and people clicking on there. And as you can see with the graph at the bottom that I've just put on there, each spike there, Kerry asks for the information on a Wednesday every single week, and she releases the information on a Friday, informing our parents via the app that This Week is now out so you can have a read of it. How do we know it's working? You can see there how it's working. It actually creates huge spikes in our website traffic and how we do things across the school. So again, we've not just looked at it, we've kind of looked at it and thought, right, let's make it better. Let's retain our parents, but how do we know that's working? So whatever we do in the future, we know that we can look at that and we can build from that as well. So we have some exciting developments with Iris as well coming forward. We use our app for reporting now, particularly with 80% of our parents that are on there as well. That means we hit a massive and wide audience to most of our parents. And we're developing a lot more things with Iris as well, who've been superb in their development. I've been able to approach Tim and say, this is what we want, this is how we want it to look, and we've worked with Iris to be able to get that up and running and be able to get statistics like that, which we're really proud of. It's not the end of the journey, it never will be. But we think that's made such a huge impact in the school, and now the app's so embedded in sort of our culture and our community that it's kind of taken for granted really that everyone goes on the app and is able to see what's going on, particularly this week. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Just wanted to follow up on one point and give people a bit of an insight into something that we've not really talked about. Going back, if you were in the opening keynote for the day and we were listening to Ilona talking about the Iris values, and the first one in the impact word there is innovation. And, you know, yes, like I said, we've got 50, 60 years worth of experience in this industry. So yes, a lot of innovation comes from within, but actually some of the most used features and the most exciting features, most engaging features come from you. So for example, the feature that Stuart and the team came up with in Culture, the hashtag This Week thing, I've already got that in the roadmap. So Kerry, you'll be pleased because you won't have to do as much chasing and nagging teachers. We're going to build that into PS Connect so that teachers will be asked by the system for what's happening in their world, in drama, in English, in PE, in science. They'll be able to feed that in, and then the system will automatically publish the This Week blog post to the app. So that's coming later this year, and thank you very much for that idea. We'll, sort something out later. I'll buy you a drink. It's really important to us as a product-led organisation that you tell us your challenges, you tell us what your problems are when it comes to engagement. And if you've done anything like this, if you've implemented something using our systems and some of your own processes, tell us about them, because if we can make them, if we can feed them into our systems and enhance the way they work, then it's better for everyone. So, moving on, I'd like to introduce Patrick. As Winston said, Patrick's the Academy Business Director for the Romero Catholic Trust. Slightly different angle here because we're talking about multiple schools. I think it's safe to say probably most of the people in the room are either in a multi-academy trust or from a multi-academy trust. So this is, correct me if I'm wrong, seven primaries and 1 secondary school, Patrick?
Yeah.
So 8 schools altogether, and you've used parent mail, a combination of parent mail systems and some BioStore products in recent years. So I'll hand over to you to tell us about your journey through that. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. So I'll keep it fairly short and sharp. It was no presentation, but basically just really keen to just sort of share the story as to why we sort of progressed down the route of parent mail and BioStore. So the Academy converted, we basically brought 8 different schools together in 2015, and I look after a shared services team now, which is sort of approximately 20 people, from comms to HR to finance to premises, etc., etc. So when we inherited the schools, they were all, as you might have imagined, they all had completely different systems, and basically though very much was labour intensive. You know, we have 3,500 children, over 500 staff, and they were sort of using systems that were very traditional, convenient at the time for the schools, but they weren't very efficient and they weren't very green. And so we sort of tendered into the market and looked at a lot of different organisations of versions of parent mail. And parent mail won the contract for a couple of years, which we've renewed subsequently for another 2. But basically what happened was we started to ensure that every school used parent mail, and because of the number of children in the 8 schools, we were bringing in £6,000 a day purely for sort of meals, dinner money and things like this. So I would be going to the schools and they would be counting cash and coin, and we were bringing in organisations to collect that money from us. And we were working on well-being of staff. So one of the things we decided to do is if we could get rid of all of that and we bring in parent mail, then the staff in the offices would be doing different types of things. But equally for our parents, they wouldn't have to come into the offices as often as they did. And we gave 6 months timeline to get all schools to 100%. And in truth, we did have to pin some families down, but our sort of reception staff were very good at, they would have tablets at the reception at the counter, and they would just almost force people to enter their details so we could get them all registered and subscribed. And now we wouldn't have any families that wouldn't use it at all. So it's been a success in that sense. And then really it's been a lot more the comms to the families. You know, if you imagine the number of children, again, they would be putting letters every Friday into bags that sometimes would reach the families and sometimes wouldn't. And everything now, we just email everything out. And occasionally, if necessary, we will buy bundles of text, but we would very rarely use text unless it's an emergency issue. So that's made a bit of a difference to us. Things like our parents' evenings, you know, it used to be quite a tricky job for our reception staff trying to coordinate and organise parents' evenings, whereas now on the app, the families will just find out what slot is available for them, for their child of a particular evening, and they'll choose it and it just closes it down, and then we can produce a report that is waiting for the families as they come to the reception, and that makes a big difference to us, really. So I suppose a BioStore, which is, you know, another good addition to us, really, where it's just taken some of the slog away from the schools in terms of, you know, what does the child want in the morning when they go to the lunch break? Everything's obviously all ready for them, and we can present a report, and we can make sure that there's some sort of synergy between what we're delivering and what the families are getting. And I can't imagine really even dreaming of going back to a system that was traditional. We did have some resistance from some of our staff because they might argued at the beginning that they weren't necessarily that ICT literate, but I think they're very user-friendly products, and just looking at some of the range of others that you've acquired out there today, they're just becoming more and more user-friendly. And so all the reception staff that we've got, office staff, are very proficient and familiar with them now. For us, you know, in terms of not having to count that money, that's a great job. It's a great saver for us. In terms of not bringing in organisations to collect it, which was a security risk for us anyway, you know, we were sending out 3,500 sort of newsletters a week, and if you work that out in terms of paper, it was probably around seven reams for us, which is best part of £15, £60 a month, you know. And also, it just wasn't really efficient, and all that's gone, to be perfectly honest. And so the efficiencies have made a big difference to us, the well-being of our own staff, because they're doing things that just feel more appropriate in this day and age that maybe what they were doing in 2015. So we've upskilled them, and they have had to become a bit more PC or ICT literate, but they're thriving on that. And then they use the time in other ways, so then better, more support to our principals. You know, they've got more hours that they can do things for them that they weren't able to do before, which has supported them in a fashion as well. So I'm not sure if you've got any questions, but for us, it was about easier comms with the families. We know that they've had it, we know that they've seen it. Some of the points you mentioned in terms of tracking levels of activity and things like that, I think that's a really good move for us. And I think in the interests of both engagement and staff wellbeing, both systems have worked really well for us. And we certainly got no regrets about progressing down this route. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So on that note, I know we've got a few minutes left. Are there any questions for Stuart or Patrick? Do you want to come back on stage, guys, so we can? Sorry, I can drag you back up. There's a few hands going up. Yes.
I mean, most of our families, I mean, we would have, we're in North East of Coventry, it would be a very diverse sort of population and that, but most of ours, to be honest, they use smartphones and they are fairly savvy on certain products like, you know, your Facebooks and Twitters and things like this. So once we could get them registered with it and set the password up and things like that, they responded to it pretty well. So I don't think we've got many examples that I would know of in schools where that's been a problem to us, you know.
PS Connect has 40 languages built in that will, so if you send a text message or an in-app message to a parent, the system will pick up the home language that you set in the MIS. So for example, if it picks up the home language as Urdu, it will then send the text message. The text message goes in English as a little link that they tap on, and then that translates the message into Urdu. Then they can reply in their native language, and then when the message comes back into the inbox, it'll just have a little tag to say auto-translated from English, and it translates it back. And currently, like I said, it supports 40 languages. So that'll help with some of the basic communications. And there's actually a tablet app that goes alongside the parent app. And it's designed for those face-to-face interactions. It's called Translated. It's integrated into PS Connect so that if a parent comes to the front desk and I'm at reception and there's clearly a language barrier, I can type something in English, press translate and hand it to the parent. They can read and type. That manual conversation that's logged on the iPad is then synced into the student record in PS Connect. So you'd see a trail of all the app messages, emails, text messages, and then any of those sort of physical face-to-face conversations with the parent on the app. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one to. Sorry, I work for Harris, by the way. But, we've talked a lot about sending, communicating to the parents and so on, and of course Tim's just covered the parents going back. Are there any sort of increasing areas where you're looking to generate more, if you like, traffic directly from the parents to the schools, as in they're initiating things, apart from rating teachers discounted? Is there other ways you're trying to reach out to your parent communities rather than simply you telling them things from the school point of view?
Yeah, we're trying to gain their feedback as well. We do a lot of feedback, don't we, Kerry, through various different things. We always ask the feedback on the app. But pretty much everything within school, really, we ask for their feedback on how it could be improved, I would say. There are other products coming as well, aren't there, from your perspective as well, regarding
Yeah.
more engagement from parents?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest areas, and this touches on some of the other areas that Winston talked about earlier, some other products in the portfolio like Truancy Call. A lot of the inbound communication is often about absences, so parents preemptively messaging the school to say so-and-so is going to be off today. And that's one example, yeah, definitely. Thinking about other ways of communicating, like social media channels, again, a lot of it is broadcast. But we're looking at features that will allow parents to interact with the school directly in the other way via platforms like social media platforms.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, we're a Google reference school, so that's for our homework. What we're doing is, I know a lot of schools use things like Show My Homework and class charts, etc. We've gone down a slightly different route, and obviously we're integrating it into the app as well. We're using Google Guardians, and we're also allowing the parents as well to work with their children to log on and get the Classroom app to be able to see what's going on, basically, with homework. The model's going quite well at the moment. It's still in its infancy. But what we've done, we've devised a set of pages for our parents to be able to follow the guidance that we put to them, and they're able to see exactly what their child's doing, if they've missed any homework, if they've got any homework coming up, what the teacher's set. We're working with our staff as well to make sure that they set that homework correctly, and classwork for that matter as well, and assignments, etc. So the parents get the most benefit from being able to see that, and ultimately through the app. Yes, it is, yeah. I can direct you to that as well if you want to have a look and see how we've done it. What we actually did as well with the app is we sort of plagiarised, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Your site, and put it on our own, because their colour scheme actually matched ours, which was handy. So what we did was we did the same thing where you see the This Week page and the MyEd app page. We kind of integrated it into our own site. One of the things I did discuss with Tim was sort of kind of uniqueness to us as a school. MyEd as the app is great, but that doesn't mean anything to our parents. CHS app, Culture High School app, means a lot to them. So we wanted to personalise what we did and make it a one-stop shop as well for everything that we've got through our site really as well. So you didn't have to go anywhere else.
All right, any more questions? No? All right, I think we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.